Hello, my name is Amy Sturkey. I am a pediatric physical therapist. I'm here with Stacy Marks, and Stacy is 37 years old. She has spastic athetoid cerebral palsy. She also has an incomplete C3, C4 spinal cord injury affecting her right side. And Stacy asked me to come back because she wanted to discuss mental health conditions. So mental health conditions occur more frequently in individuals with cerebral palsy compared to individuals in the general populations. The most common mental health condition with people with cerebral palsy are depression and anxiety. 46% of people with cerebral palsy have self-reported anxiety. So I thought what we'd do is there's something called the GAD, the 7, the Generalized Anxiety Disorder 7 questionnaire. I thought we'd go through it today, and I think we'll answer it, if it's okay with you, 2 different ways. One is, how is this true for you in the last 2 weeks? And one is how it was true for you when you were, well, let's start off. Do you have issues with anxiety? Have you had trouble with anxiety in the past?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So how about we talk about it in terms of how, 2 scorings of it. One is the worst it's been for you and how it is right now in the last 2 weeks. So when I ask you these, there are 4 different options. One is not at all. One is several days a week, more than half of the days, and nearly every day. Okay. So let's start off. The first one is just feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge. How often, right now, do you feel that? Not at all, several days, more than half the days, nearly every day?
Pretty much none.
Awesome. And what about in the past when you were at the worst of your anxiety?
At least half.
Wow, okay. Do you need me to keep repeating the not at all, several days, more than half the days, nearly every day?
No, that'll be okay.
Okay. The next one is not being able to stop or control worrying. So right now,
I'd say some days I have issues with that.
so is that several days?
Yeah, several.
And when it was at the worst, was that more than half the days, nearly every day?
Yeah, back then it was a lot worse.
So more than half the days, or almost?
At least half the days, more than half the days.
Got it. Worrying too much about different things right now first.
Some days, maybe several days. Probably
Okay.
a 1.
And how about in the past when it was really bad? Nearly every day? More than half the days?
Probably about every day.
Yeah. Trouble relaxing.
Sorry, could you repeat what the question is?
Yeah, having trouble relaxing. How often do you have trouble doing that now?
Just every now and then, sometimes. Maybe a 1, because with my CP and then with COVID, sometimes I get really, really anxious about things.
Uh-huh. And when it was at its worst, what was it?
I feel like at that time I really couldn't relax.
So,
It caused my CP to get worse. I had a lot of tightness in my body.
so that was nearly every day?
Yeah, almost every day back then.
Being so restless that it's hard to sit still. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? A question for you as a person with cerebral palsy.
Nowadays, I don't think I experience that. I'd say none nowadays.
Uh-huh. And when, in the past, when your anxiety was the worst?
I definitely felt like I had some excess motion back then.
Huh, that's interesting. It overflowed into the athetoid cerebral palsy type movements that you have?
Yeah, I definitely think it contributed.
Huh, that makes sense. So would that be nearly every day or more than half the days? Sorry.
Especially with me personally. For like 11 years ago, or maybe 10, my mental health was really impacted by my cerebral palsy and vice versa, because I was on this medication for my mental health for my cerebral palsy that made me feel crazy. Like my body would move a lot and I couldn't control it. And it made me fall down. And that is how I incurred my spinal cord injury.
Wow. So nearly...
And sorry, just to clarify, it was a mental health medication, not to treat the cerebral palsy, but impacted the symptoms of the cerebral palsy. And when I was sleeping, I fell to the floor as a result of that medication and the lack of control of my body. And that caused my spinal cord injury.
Wow.
And I didn't sleep for 5 days, and so I was having really awful sleep deprivation at that time.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine. If I don't get 8 hours of sleep, I have a hard time. I can't imagine that many days.
Yeah, it was certainly a struggle.
So you would say nearly every day then on that? The inability to stay still? You were restless? Okay, the next one is becoming easily annoyed or irritable.
Every now and then I'll be a little irritable, so maybe a 1 nowadays.
Uh-huh. And when you were at your worst?
I definitely was a lot more irritable and had issues with regulating my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much a constant struggle.
Okay. Feeling afraid as if something awful might happen.
Nowadays, I don't feel that way most of the time. I'd say a 0.
Awesome. And when you were in your worst position?
That was something that was happening like all the time. I was constantly thinking that bad things were going to happen when I was at my worst time with my mental health.
All right. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All right, so way back when, you would have scored on this as severe anxiety because you had 19 points. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 points and minimal anxiety now. So that's a big change. And it's got to feel good to have made it through from such a very anxious part of your life to really having minimal anxiety now. Can you tell me what were the things that helped you move from such a bad place to where you are now?
Certainly. I moved into a new environment and got a fresh start, and that environment had more support for me, and it was more positive. And I also started regularly seeing a therapist once a week at least, and it helped me really understand more about acceptance and what was happening with me in my life at that time. So that really helped.
I'm so glad that you're in a better place now. I think talking about your anxiety, I think that there is not a lot of, there's research says there's not a lot of research about mental health issues with people who have cerebral palsy, but I think it's also a lot of stigma to talk about mental health challenges for typical people, but especially for people with cerebral palsy. So I really appreciate you being willing to share your story.
I'm happy to, yeah, definitely.
I hope this is helpful for people, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye. If you liked this video and would like to be notified by email when the next video comes out, click the subscribe button here and click the golden bell icon and ensure notifications are enabled on your account.